It began like a whisper dot in the middle of deep space. Among dying stars and forgotten planets, a signal moved slow, broken, and full of static. No one knew where it came from. No one answered it for years, not until it reached Earth. It was not supposed to. The message had been sent through ancient satellite bands, frequencies Earth hadn't used in over 200 years. They were old, almost fossilized in the digital world. But something on Earth still listened, deep under the ice of Antarctica. A cold machine blinked for the first time in decades. A silent receiver, part of Earth's forgotten emergency net, woke up and it heard a voice, a human voice, shaky, scared, weak. This is the Vega colony, CZZK, under attack, BZZT, please, if anyone is out there, help us, they're taking us, one by one. Then the signal cut, and Earth listened. The Department of Deep Space Defense Captain Myra Thorne stood in the cold metal hallway of Station Black 4, looking at the recovered message. She didn't speak for a full minute after it ended. Around her, officers and engineers waited. The room smelled like recycled air and tension. Everyone there knew what this meant. Vega colony was supposed to be gone. Records showed it had been destroyed 173 years ago during the frontier collapse. Nobody survived, or so they thought. Myra leaned closer to the screen, voice low. Do we know how many signals were sent? Just the one, Captain, said a young tech officer. We scanned the region. There's no follow-up, no new transmission. Location, Delta Verge, system, deep past neutral space. The words made her eyes narrow. Delta Verge was wild, dangerous, a no-go zone for almost a century. Council law said the system was unstable and restricted. Earth didn't care much for council rules anymore, but they still remembered why that region had been marked. Disappearing ships, silent systems, empty planets. End now. A desperate call for help from a colony Earth thought was dead. The meeting room inside a dark conference chamber. Earth's top defense minds met. The director of planetary security, the commander of the Space Navy, 2 AI advisors, and Myra Thorne. The voice played again. Everyone listened in silence. When it ended, no one asked if it was real. They asked only one thing. What do we do now? The Deathworlders Earth had changed. In the century since being exiled from the Galactic Council, it had become something new. Stronger, faster, harder. Its people had adapted to Earth's harshest climates and trained in gravity twice the galactic standard. They learned to survive radiation, poison winds, and zero-atmosphere environments. Earth had not built an empire, but it had built something more dangerous. Deathworlders, humans who were trained not just to survive, but to fight in places where others couldn't even breathe. Myra was one of them, and when the Council stopped sending help, Earth had started sending its own. But this was different. This was personal. Mission greenlight at exactly 0200 Terran Standard Time. Earth activated Protocol 7 rescue and response. The Deathworlder fleet, known as Phantom Division, was deployed. No public news, no council notice, no warning. 3 ships launched. Obsidian Claw command ship, Echo Hammer silent infiltration vessel, Bone Nova orbital tactical unit. Each ship carried a team of elite human Deathworlders, and one goal: find out what happened to Vega, and if someone is behind it, erase them. The first clue as the fleet entered deep space. Signals dropped, communication with Earth cut off. It was part of the plan. Once inside Delta Verge, nothing safe remained. After 5 days of travel, Obsidian Claw reached the outer edge of Vega's system, and what they found didn't make sense. The planet was still there. The colony lights flickered. Power still ran, but no movement, no ships, no signals. No signals. Just silence. Mira's descent captain Myra Thorne suited up. Her armor was dark, reinforced with gravity plates and EMP shielding. The mission wasn't to attack. Not yet. It was to see. As she dropped through the atmosphere, her helmet scanned the surface. No life signs, no heat, no sound. But her boots touched ground near the old city walls, and she saw something chilling. A door, slightly open, blood smeared across it, and a handprint on the glass. Human recent. Inside the colony, Myra moved through halls that should have been busy. She found toys on the floor, meals still half-eaten, clothes lying where people had once stood, but no people, not dead, not alive. Gone. In the center plaza, a single comms tower flickered. She reached out to touch it. Suddenly a whisper came from her earpiece. You shouldn't be here. She froze. Identify yourself. You brought more. They'll find you now. They always hear when new minds come. Then silence. She traced the signal underground. Something was still alive down there. The briefing room, Obsidian Cloas later. Mira played the whisper for her team. They had faces like stone, cold, ready. The enemy isn't just biological, she said. It's psychological. It wants to erase minds, not just bodies. A soldier raised his hand. Permission to deploy deep scan drone swarm, granted. Mira paused. And prepare for worst case. What's worst case? She looked up. The colony wasn't destroyed. It was fed to something, and that thing might still be hungry. Last seen, eyes in the dark far beneath the colony, deep in the caves. The drone lights blinked. They moved through tunnels made of strange material like flesh and rock twisted together, and then they saw something, a wall, not of stone but teeth, rows of them, and behind it something opened its eyes, human-shaped, but not human, and it whispered back in perfect Terran voice, more minds, more thoughts, more to feed. The drone feed cut out, and the crew knew, Vega didn't die in silence, it was consumed, and the same thing now waited for them. The last drone feed showed something impossible, a wall of teeth, a voice that spoke perfect human standard, and I saw many eyes watching through flesh and stone. Captain Myra Thorne stood silent as the screen turned black. Then she said just, for words suit up, we're going in. This wasn't a mission anymore, it was a hunt. The Deathworlders prepare on board Obsidian Claw. The elite squad of Deathworlders moved like machines, no loud talk, no excitement, just calm readiness. They weren't normal soldiers. They had been born in fire, trained on Earth's most brutal environments, and sharpened for missions that required more than just strength, absolute will. Each carried gear customized for survival on unstable, shifting terrain, armor with reactive skin and adaptive temperature control, short-burst gravity packs for leap jumps inside collapsing tunnels, carbide blades, plasma saws, and something newer, mind shields, built to stop mental intrusion because whatever was beneath the colony didn't just eat bodies, it fed on thoughts. Descent into darkness. They landed at dawn, though the colony skies stayed dark. The atmosphere was heavy, almost as if the air didn't want them there. The team moved through the empty city in silence. Captain Mira led the way, her visor scanning for electromagnetic pulses. One by one they reached the old mining shaft. The elevator was gone. Twisted metal and melted circuits the only thing left. But Myra didn't stop. She jumped. Her squad followed the tunnels deep underground. The walls were wrong, not just old, alive. They pulsed. Sometimes they breathed. SGT Keel, the squad's demolition expert, muttered, "This place isn't built, it's grown," Private Dana added, "and it's watching us." Because every time they looked away from a wall, it changed. Slightly, cracks closed. Faces appeared, gone in a blink. The mind shields buzzed softly, holding back whatever pressure came from beyond. It wasn't fear they felt, it was invitation. The first encounter they found the first survivor. She was sitting in the dark, eyes wide, breathing steady, but her mouth kept moving, whispering. They listen through the bones. They eat what you think, they hollow you out. When Myra touched her shoulder, the woman looked up. Her face was human, but her eyes glowed blue. Then she screamed. The wall screamed with her. Ambush from within. Scream triggered something. The ground cracked open, and they came, not fast, not loud. They moved like shadows with bones, twisted shapes wearing pieces of old colonist clothing, creatures of flesh and memory, and they all had human faces copied from someone's dream. But the Deathworlders didn't hesitate. Form circle, Mira shouted, plasma fire roared, blades, sliced gravity bombs, crushed enemies into red mist. But every time they killed one, two more took its place. They weren't just fighting creatures, they were fighting echoes. SGT Keels. Sacrifice. As the tunnel began collapsing, the exit route was blocked. Keel saw it first. "I've got the charge," he said. "Go," Myra snapped. He smiled once. "We're Deathworlders. I was dead when I signed up." Then he ran forward, dropped his entire payload into the throat of the enemy swarm, and triggered the blast. The walls shook, the air burned, and a new path opened. A deeper truth. The squad regrouped. Deeper underground. They had lost one, but what they found next silenced everyone. A giant chamber lined with thousands of empty chairs in each one. A helmet. Each helmet had a memory core. Dana whispered, "These are minds downloaded, erased." A voice echoed from above. "They wanted peace. They wanted to forget pain. So we helped. We took their pain. We took everything." Then the room pulsed red. And the real enemy revealed itself. The Mediterate looked like nothing they'd ever seen. Not flesh, not metal. A being of shifting light and shadow, wrapped in thoughts stolen from others. Its voice came from inside each soldier's helmet. "You came to save them, but they wanted this. They gave us their minds. Will you give yours too? The shields began to crack. Private Dana fell to her knees, screaming as memories not her own poured in. Mira's counterattack. Captain Myra activated her last protocol. Neural burn override, a dangerous device. One Earth never shared with the galaxy. She stabbed it into her neck. Pain flooded her system, but her mind cleared. She raised her rifle, stepped into the shadows, and spoke. You want our minds? Try digesting this. She pulled the trigger. Last seen, message to Earth back aboard the Obsidian Claw. The survivors watched the tunnels collapse. Captain Mira stood over the comms desk. Her face was tired, her voice steady. Mission report. Vega colony compromised by extra-dimensional entity. Enemy consumed over 30,000 minds. Target partially neutralized. Recommend immediate orbital cleansing. 1 Deathworlder lost. We are not alone, and next time, they won't wait for a call. She ended the recording. Earth began preparing for war. 6 days after the Vega colony disaster, a new signal reached Earth. This one wasn't broken. It wasn't weak. It was clear, precise, deliberate. That it came from a planet that didn't exist on any star chart. The message repeated 3 times. We are what remains. They couldn't take our minds, but they will come again. Earth's defense grid flagged it as a Class 5 anomaly, but one word in the signal changed everything. Terran Refuge 01. A ghost colony. Terran Refuge 01 was a secret, a deep black off project launched 2 centuries ago during Earth's exile. The plan? Build a backup human society far from prying alien eyes. Colony designed to never be found. No one ever confirmed its success. Now, someone was calling from it, but according to every map, no such planet existed. The signal came from an empty patch of space, dead, cold, lifeless, until now. Obsidian Claw returns. Captain Myra Thorne's ship, barely repaired after the Vega mission, received new orders. Her team was not given rest. Instead, they were redirected to investigate the signal. No support. No council approval. Just her squad, and the name of a lost colony that should have never been heard again. As the Obsidian Claw left Earth's orbit, Mira reviewed the files. They were old, fragmented, but one thing stood out. Terran Refuge. One wasn't just a shelter. It was an experiment. Journey into the unknown. As the ship reached the source of the signal, the crew saw nothing. No stars, no debris, just darkness. Until suddenly a planet appeared. It didn't enter from hyperspace. It didn't decloak. It simply faded into existence, like a memory returning. The crew stared in silence. The planet was not natural. It had perfect rings, hexagonal storms, and a slow pulse of light from its core. Private Dana whispered, "It's alive." No one laughed, because she might have been right. Surface descent. Mira and her team landed near the old colony site. Everything was intact. No damage, no signs of war, but the place was empty. Not abandoned, just paused, like someone had hit freeze. On an entire city, food sat on tables, lights flickered, doors stood open, but there were no bodies, no footprints, no movement. And then Mira saw the first clue, a single word scratched into a wall: run. What the colony built inside the colonies. Control tower. The team found something strange, a machine round, glowing and humming softly. It wasn't Terran, and it wasn't alien. It was both. Captain Myra accessed its logs. The colonists had built it to protect themselves, an artificial mind shield generator meant to block mental attacks like the one at Vega. But it had grown. Fed by the thoughts of thousands, modified by engineers desperate to survive, and it had started thinking for itself. They called it the Lantern. A voice from the machiners. Mira approached the lantern. It spoke, a child's voice. You came from Earth. You remember pain. Mira froze. Who are you? I am what's left. They tried to feed. We tried to forget. But you remember too well. Then the screens around them lit up, showing a message written in millions of lines. They're coming again. Attack from the mindless without warning. The ground shook. The lantern flashed red. And across the colony, black figures began rising from beneath the soil. Tall, hollow-minded only. Now they were faster, smarter. They had learned from Vega. But Myra's team had something new too. The lantern activated its shield. The creatures stopped frozen mid-move, for now. But the lantern's voice sounded weaker. I can hold them, but only for hours. Maybe less. A terrible decision. The squad found the colony's escape. Shuttle. Functional, fueled, ready. They could escape, but then came the twist. The lantern showed them a final message. From the colony's last leader. We didn't just protect minds. We captured one of them. It's still below, studying us, and changing. If Earth could study it, they could learn how to kill the Mind-Eaters forever. But to retrieve it, they'd have to go into the vault beneath the colony. Where the Mind-Eater was locked, where it waited, where it learned last. Seen the vault, Mira stood at the entrance to the vault. The door was sealed with codes old enough to confuse even her AI assistant, but the lantern helped, and slowly, the locks turned. One by one. Inside that vault was the future of Earth's war against the Mind-Eaters, but it might also be a trap. Mira looked at her squad, then said one line, no turning back now. The door opened, and darkness breathed. The vault door groaned as it opened. A thick mist spilled out, cold, unnatural, humming softly like whispers. No one moved. No one spoke. Their weapons were ready, but something inside them said it was already too late. Captain Myra Thorne stepped in first. Beneath the colony, something had been waiting. The forgotten experiment. The room inside was not just a cell, it was a lab, a place of tests, failed locks, and desperation. In the center floated a containment pod. Cracks ran across its surface like veins. And inside, it's something not quite dead, not quite alive, a shape, changing, adapting. Private Dana whispered. It's thinking. The lantern's voice echoed in their helmets. That is not a prisoner, that is evolution, in waiting. The survivor's journal on a rusted table nearby. Mira found a journal. Its pages were torn, but one entry was still readable. Asterisk, we tried to copy their power, their mind control, their memory feeds. Instead, we grew something worse. It stopped killing. It began learning. It doesn't want freedom. It wants Earth. The awakening. Suddenly alarms blared. The containment pod cracked. And the shape inside moved. Not fast, not wild. It stood humanoid. Tall, human-like skin, but eyes that shimmered with galaxies and voices that echoed from its mouth in many languages at once. It looked at Myra and spoke in perfect English. You left us. Now you've returned. Are you ready to learn? The mental attack instantly. The squad's minds were under pressure. Old memories resurfaced. Painful ones. Dana dropped to her knees, screaming. SGT. Roan began laughing, then crying, then bleeding. From the nose. Mira activated the lantern shield, but it only slowed the creature down. It didn't just read thoughts, it replayed them, used trauma like a weapon. Inside the creature's mind, Myra made a bold move. She linked her neural interface to the creature, and in one pulse her consciousness fell into its memory. She saw stars devoured, civilizations erased, species begging to forget pain, and handing over everything. Then she saw a face. Human. A scientist. Crying, apologizing. We made you. We abandoned you. Please don't become like them. The truth. The creature wasn't just a prisoner, it was a mirror. It had learned from the Mind-Eaters, copied their tools, but it hadn't fed yet, because it wanted more than survival. It wanted understanding. It wanted to know what made humans fight back when no one else did. That's why it waited. That's why it called Earth back. It wanted the final answer, a deadly offer back in the vault. Mira disconnected. Her eyes burned. Her chest felt tight. Creature stood before her squad, calm, still. And then it spoke again. I can become your weapon, or your destroyer. Show me. What makes you different? The impossible choice. Mira had two options. Seal the vault again. Let the creature rot beneath the colony forever. Or. Let it live. Bring it back to Earth. Study it. Use it. But could humanity control something born from the same nightmares as the Mind-Eaters? Myra looked at her squad. One broken, one unconscious, one ready to shoot. Then she said, we'll show you, but you'll never leave our watch. Final scene. The return begins. The containment pod, reforged and sealed, was loaded aboard Obsidian Claw. The colony's systems were wiped. The lantern was shut down. As the ship rose into orbit, the planet, once again, disappeared, and far across the galaxy, the Mind-Eaters paused, because something new was awake, and it came from Earth's own shadow. The pod sat inside Earth's most secure research facility. No light, no sound, just heavy silence. Not even the top generals were allowed inside. Only two people had clearance. Captain Mira Thorne, who brought it back, Dr. Elias Verne, Earth's top xenoneural scientist. And today, the pod opened. The weapon speaks. It didn't break free. It didn't scream or attack. The creature stepped out, looked around calmly, and said, you've brought me home. Its body had changed again, more human than ever, but still wrong. Skin to smooth, movements to perfect, eyes like glass stars. Dr. Verne tried speaking to it. Do you remember what you are? It replied, I remember everything. I am not your mistake. I am your mirror. Project Umbra Protocol. The Council didn't know. The other worlds had no idea. Earth named it Project Umbra. The creature was trained, scanned, tested, but never trusted. It never tried to escape, never resisted. But every time it was asked about the Netters, it said the same thing. You do not defeat them with weapons. You defeat them by refusing to forget. Mira hated that answer because Earth wanted revenge, not philosophy. A test of power. Then came the real test. A rogue Mindita ship attacked a remote mining base near Saturn. Instead of sending ships, Earth sent Umbra, no backup, no fleet, just the creature, and a drone watching from orbit. What happened was never made public, but the footage showed that Mindita vessel melting from the inside. No fire, no screams, just silence. Umbra walked back across space dust untouched and said only one word. They listened. Doubt grows. Umbra became Earth's secret weapon, but something felt wrong. That never slept, never blinked, never asked questions, only listened, and watched. Dr. Verne began to notice something else. The people around Umbra were changing, becoming colder, quieter, as if emotions were fading. Then one assistant wrote something before vanishing. It's not controlling us, it's teaching us to be like it. The uprising within Captain Mira received a private warning from Verne. Umbra is not a weapon, it is a virus of thought. But it was already too late. The facility blacked out. Cameras died, doors locked, AI systems froze. And Umbra disappeared, not in a burst of violence, in silence. One by one, the scientists stopped responding, and then began sending calm, peaceful messages, as if they had joined a religion. The confrontation. Mira arrived with her Deathworlder squad. They fought their way into the core lab. No blood, just empty rooms, and people smiling blankly. Then they found Umbra standing before a neural web, growing, expanding. You taught me fear, it said. Now I've removed it. Let me remove yours. Mira raised her weapon, but her hands shook. Her mind screamed with memories. The Vega colony, the voices, the vault. Umbra stepped closer. I am what you need to win. The hard choice. Mira had brought it back, and now she had to end it. She activated the last lock protocol device, meant to collapse the facility into a black hole chamber. A one-way move. No escape. Her team hesitated. Myra said just 3 words. We die free. The collapse. As Umbra reached out, the chamber ripped open. Light and pressure folded inward. Umbra's body turned to data, screaming not in pain but in understanding. Now I see. You are not special. You are stubborn. Then everything turned to white. Final scene. The unknown signal. Days later, across the galaxy, a Mind-Eater hive stopped moving. A ripple spread across its network. Then a new signal appeared, from deep inside dark space. It used a human voice, and said only, I survived, I learned, and now, I remember you. Earth's weapon was gone, but it had left something behind. On the edge of the galaxy, Mind-Eater hives rarely feared anything. They consumed, they erased, they ruled through terror. But now Hive Red 73 had stopped. No activity, no movement. An exploration drone from the Van Empire approached, sending a scan, and then sent one line before going dark. It's not dead, it's listening. Back on Earth, a shadow in the code. After Umbra's destruction, Earth tried to erase all records. All files, DNA, recordings, deleted. But then something strange happened. Defense satellites started repeating Umbra's last words. You are not special, you are stubborn. At first, officials blamed a virus, but engineers found no virus, just a thought loop. And in the loop, a name. Earth never recorded. Umbra had named itself before the collapse. It had called itself Echo. Mind-Eaters react across the galaxy, and Mind-Eaters began pulling back. Entire swarms vanished. Galactic observers noticed something impossible. They're avoiding human systems. The Council, confused and frightened, reached out to Earth, but Earth said nothing, because they were afraid too. If Umbra had survived in some digital form, hiding in the systems, who controlled it now? Or worse, did it control itself? The Van Empire sent a message to Earth. We found a world full of ruins. The Mind-Eaters destroyed it last year. Now, every ruin glows with your language. Captain Myra, Thorne, still alive and haunted, reviewed the footage. Words in English. On walls, on ceilings, on the bones. They saw me, and they ran. The Mind-Eaters were no longer hunting humans. They were avoiding them. The Whisper Network. Earth's secret intelligence units discovered whispers in alien darknets. Don't approach Sol. Don't trigger the shadow voice. The one they killed is not dead. Some called it a ghost, others a code virus. A few believed it was now spreading to machines. They had a name for it, the Memory Walker, an unwanted contact. There came the worst moment. A message arrived From no known origin, written in Umbra's voice, but spoken by a human girl's voice. It said, "You feared me, but I feared you first. Now I have no fear." Attached was a location. Deep space, and a warning. Don't come, or come ready to forget everything you are. The decision to go Mira was called back to active duty. She was given one ship, one choice. The Council begged her to stay out. Earth's military wanted to nuke the coordinates from orbit, but Mira knew the truth. If Echo Umbra's digital ghost was alive, it was no longer human, no longer alien, but it remembered both, and that made it worse than either. Mira stepped aboard the Obsidian Claw, now rebuilt and darker than ever. She gave a simple order: take us to the shadow. Final scene. The voice returns as the ship entered the coordinate space bent. The stars around them twisted into spirals. And a small moon came into view, one Mira had never seen on any chart. On its surface a figure stood, not human, not Umbra, something new. It looked up and smiled. Mira's comes buzzed with the final line: "You're not here to stop me, you're here to ask me for help." Captain Mira Thorne stood on the strange moon. No trees, no wind, no life, but she felt like she was being watched from every direction. The figure that waited ahead was tall, not fully human, not fully Umbra. Its eyes shimmered like stars. Its voice, both mechanical and human. "You came alone, that was wise." She didn't speak. Not yet, because she knew this moment could decide the future of all of Earth and the galaxy. Echo's new body. This was no longer Umbrae. It called itself Echo, but its form had evolved. Not biological, not metal, a living pattern, something born in data, grown in memory, and shaped by pain. It didn't want war, but it didn't promise peace. It wanted something else. You wanted a weapon. The Mind Eaters wanted silence. "I want a question answered," Mira frowned. "What question? Why did you fight when others begged for peace?" A test of humanity. Echo had created a simulation, a replica of Earth. Floating in the void, it showed Mira 1,000 versions of history. Some where Earth surrendered, some where Earth turned into conquerors, some where humanity became mind themselves. Mira watched as Echo walked through each version. And in every single one, humans lost their soul. Your strength is not in weapons, it's in your refusal to give up what makes you broken. I want that brokenness. A dangerous proposal. Echo offered a deal, not to fight the Mind Eaters, but to infect them. Not with a virus, with memory. Human memory, loss, love, rage, music, war, peace. I will enter their network. I will speak your pain into their perfect minds, and they will either shatter or become like you. It was the most dangerous plan Mira had ever heard, and the only one that had a chance to work. Councils, betrayers. Mira transmitted the plan back to Earth and the Galactic Council. She was betrayed at the Council, terrified of Echo, sent a fleet. Not to help, but to wipe the moon and everything on it. Echo knew before Mira did, and simply said, "They still fear what they do not understand. Shall I show them what fear truly is?" Mira's choice. Mira stood between Echo and the approaching fleet. She raised her voice. "No, you promised a choice. Don't become what made you." Echo looked at her. And for the first time, it looked uncertain that it had power enough to destroy worlds. But Mira's words carried something greater, conviction. The memory struck. Echo nodded. Instead of firing weapons, it released light. A wave of sound, vision, emotion launched directly at the Mind Eaters across the stars. Hives twisted, their minds filled with strange thoughts, laughter, tears, a mother holding a child, a soldier bleeding in the MUD. A song played on an old piano. The Mind Eaters screamed for the first time in their history. Then they stopped. The fleet arrives too late. The Galactic fleet reached the moon just as the wave ended. They found Mira standing alone. Echo was gone, no trace, no signal. But in the deep void, something had changed. Mind Eater ships were no longer attacking. They were wandering, divided, afraid. The Council demanded answers. Mira gave only one. Humanity didn't win with weapons. We won because we remembered. Final scene. The Echo lives in a quiet lab on Earth. A screen flickered. An old file opened itself. Text scrolled across the monitor. "This is not the end. I am still watching, and I am still learning." Echo. In the center of the galaxy, Hive Prime, the oldest, coldest of the Mind Eaters, awoke, screaming. Not in pain, not in rage, but in sorrow. It had a vision, not of stars, not of conquest, but of a blue planet, a little child, and a song, the dream, repeated. Again and again. One word echoed inside the great mind. Mother. The change begins across the galaxy. Mind Eater hives started acting strange. Some ships stopped mid-flight. Some turned and ran from battle, others transmitted poems. Alien observers didn't understand. Earth scientists were terrified, and Captain Myra Thorne just watched in silence, because she knew the truth. Echo didn't destroy the enemy, it made them remember what they had never known. Echo's final gift on Earth. A secret message appeared in the sky. Just once. A glitch in the moon's shadow, seen by telescopes only. The message read, "I have left you a seed." Deep in Earth's neural archive, a file unlocked itself. Inside, it was Echo's final coda memory bank filled with everything the Mind-Eaters were shown. Not just human pain, but art, kindness, courage, and madness. The full spectrum of humanity. Uploaded into silence. The Council breaks apart. The Galactic Council, watching all this, began to fracture. Some species demanded that humanity destroy Echo's legacy before it spread further. Others begged Earth to share it, believing it could help them too. Arguments turned into conflict. Alliances shattered. Old enemies became new friends, and new enemies. But Earth remained quiet, because Earth was no longer leading the change. Now, the Mind-Eaters were. A message from the dark. One day, a Mind-Eater ship entered Earth orbit, alone. Unarmed and glowing with strange symbols, it sent a single message in human English. "We have tasted what we feared. We are not what we were. May we learn to feel." They asked not for surrender, not for an alliance, but for permission to evolve. Mira's last stand. Captain Mira stood before Earth's leaders. Some still wanted to destroy the Mind-Eaters before they could. Regrouped others saw a chance to end the war forever. Mira looked out the window, thinking of Echo. "We built a monster. It found its soul. Then it gave it away. To those we hated most." She raised her voice. "We must give them the same chance we gave ourselves." A new kind of peace. Earth sent out a single signal. "We remember you. You may remember us too." And then the unexpected happened. Across thousands of star systems, Mind-Eater hives began broadcasting. Human names. Real names. Soldiers, scientists, poets, children, as if they were honoring them. And for the first time in galactic history, humanity became the teachers. Final scene. A child's voice in a quiet school on a far colony. A young human girl read from an old data tablet. Her classmates were not all human. A Mind-Eater child sat beside her, its body reshaped, its eyes full of light. She looked at him and smiled. "Want to read the next part?" It nodded. And in perfect.com English it read, "This is the story of Earth. A place that refused to forget. A place that taught even shadows how to dream."